Beneath the pavement of modern Europe lie entire cities that time forgot. This journey through 25 lost civilizations buried under today's landscape will completely transform how you see European history. We will explore sunken ports, buried capitals, and industrial centers reclaimed by nature, each discovery revealing secrets about how societies rise and fall. You will learn how climate shifts, economic changes, and human ambitions shaped these forgotten worlds, with direct lessons for our own time. How did a bustling medieval port vanish beneath the waves, and what can its silent streets teach us about our own future? What stories do you think the ground beneath your feet might be waiting to tell? The sound of church bells is said to still echo from beneath the waves, a spectral reminder of the medieval port city of Dunwich. This was no minor settlement, but a capital of its region and one of the largest ports in all of England. Its story is not one of a single cataclysm, but of a slow, relentless surrender to the sea. For centuries, coastal erosion and a series of violent storms gnawed away at the cliffs it was built upon. Historical accounts tell of entire neighborhoods, grand churches, and bustling marketplaces gradually crumbling and sliding into the churning waters. The process continued for so long that the last major section of the city was recorded as falling into the North Sea in the 1910s. Today, sophisticated sonar technology has painted a stunning picture of this lost world, revealing intricate street plans and the distinct foundations of buildings resting silently on the seabed. It is the ghostly blueprint of a sophisticated urban center, a powerful lesson in the fragile relationship between human ambition and the power of nature. Dunwich's gradual disappearance sets the stage for a city that met a far more abrupt and dramatic end. While Dunwich slipped away piece by piece, the city of Rungholt vanished in a single, terrifying night. This was not a slow decline but a sudden, absolute erasure from the map. At the height of its prosperity, Rungholt was a jewel of the Frisian coast, a wealthy trading hub whose merchants were known across the region. Its end came with the St. Marcellus flood, a monstrous storm surge that crashed over the land in 1362. The sea did not simply encroach, it devoured the entire city, claiming the lives of thousands and silencing its bustling streets forever. For generations, Rungholt was remembered only as a cautionary tale, a myth of a drowned city of sinners. Then the tides began to relent, and the mudflats of the Wadden Sea started to give up their secrets. During exceptionally low tides, the outlines of a lost world emerged, the foundations of houses, the remnants of wells, and the distinct site of a church. Archaeologists have since pulled evidence of its vast trade networks from the silt, finding imported pottery and coins from distant lands. The legend was real, a stark reminder that nature's power could, in one furious moment, reclaim even the most successful human endeavor. This abrupt catastrophe stands in sharp relief to a different kind of loss, one not born of water and wind, but of shifting fortunes and fading relevance. Far from the coastal storms, the story of a different kind of disappearance unfolds beneath the quiet Welsh countryside. The fields of Trellech hide the bones of a medieval industrial giant. In the 13th century, this was not a sleepy village but a powerhouse of production, a town purpose built by the powerful de Clare family to fuel their military ambitions. Its lifeblood was iron, drawn from the local landscape and forged on a massive scale. At its peak, this settlement may have been home to 10,000 people, making it one of the largest urban centers in all of medieval Wales. Its forges produced not just tools but vast quantities of arrowheads, supplying armies across Britain and turning the town into a crucial node in the machinery of medieval conflict. For decades, its fires burned bright and its population swelled, a testament to the power of specialized industry. Its decline was not a sudden collapse, but a slow fading. Shifting political alliances and changes in the economy of warfare gradually made its primary purpose less vital. The demand for its specialized goods waned and people began to leave. Over time, the bustling streets and roaring furnaces were silenced, and the land was given back to agriculture, leaving almost no trace on the surface. For centuries, Trellech was little more than a name in historical records, its true scale and importance doubted. Then, modern archaeology revealed its secrets. Geophysical surveys, which allow researchers to see beneath the soil without digging, painted a stunning picture of a planned urban center hidden under the farmland. They revealed a detailed street grid, the foundations of numerous buildings, and the distinct outlines of large-scale industrial sites. The sophistication of the metalworking facilities uncovered there has forced historians to reconsider what was technologically possible in the medieval period. Trellech's story is a powerful lesson in how a city built on a single industry can flourish with powerful backing, but can also vanish when that support erodes or the market changes. This quiet abandonment, a victim of economic shifts, stands in stark contrast to the fate of cities that were not merely left behind, but were actively and deliberately erased from existence. The silence of Trellech's abandoned forges gives way to the roar of a different kind of legend, one whispered across the Baltic Sea. There are stories of a city so magnificent its very existence was questioned for centuries. Medieval chroniclers wrote of Vineta, a Slavic metropolis of staggering wealth, where everyday objects were said to be fashioned from silver and gold. It was described as a vibrant hub where Scandinavian traders and Slavic merchants met, a cosmopolitan center that vanished without a trace around the 12th century. Folklore provided a moral explanation for its disappearance, claiming the city was swallowed by the sea as divine punishment for the pride and luxurious excesses of its people. While this tale served as a cautionary fable for generations, modern research points toward more tangible causes, such as the relentless coastal erosion that reshapes shorelines or the possibility of a devastating military conflict. The search for this fabled place has driven archaeologists to the waters near modern Wollin, Poland. There, beneath the waves, sonar scans and dives have begun to reveal tantalizing clues, what appear to be the remnants of ancient harbor structures and artifacts that hint at a significant settlement. These findings do not yet confirm a city of gold, but they powerfully validate the historical memory of a major trading center lost to time. Vineta stands as a perfect example of how myth and reality are often woven from the same thread, reminding us that many legends are born from a kernel of truth, waiting for the right moment to be uncovered. This dance between fable and fact leads us to a city whose rediscovery was so unexpected it rewrote the map of an ancient empire. The whispers of a Slavic trading metropolis fade into the winds of the Eurasian steppe, where an even more extraordinary empire once held sway. Atil was the brilliant, beating heart of the Khazar Khaganate, a realm so powerful it controlled the vital arteries of trade between Europe and Asia for centuries. What made this empire truly unique was its official faith. In a world dominated by expanding Christian and Islamic civilizations, the Khazar leadership and much of the elite made a historic decision to adopt Judaism. This transformed their capital into a remarkable center of tolerance, a cosmopolitan hub where merchants, scholars, and diplomats from across the known world could meet and exchange goods and ideas under the protection of a Jewish state. The city thrived as a melting pot of cultures and beliefs, a testament to the possibility of coexistence in a frequently divided medieval landscape. Its prosperity, however, also made it a target. In the 960s, the Kievan Rus leader Sviatoslav I led a devastating military campaign that shattered the Khazar state and razed their magnificent capital to the ground. The city of Atil was so thoroughly destroyed that its very location vanished from memory, becoming one of history's great ghosts. For 1,000 years, it was known only from texts, a legend of a lost kingdom. Then, along the Volga Delta near modern Astrakhan, archaeologists began to find clues. Excavations have revealed the remains of a major settlement, with layers of occupation that align perfectly with the Khazar era. Researchers have uncovered evidence of diverse religious and cultural practices, pointing to the very multicultural society the historical records describe. To find Atil would be to unlock the secrets of a civilization that deliberately charted its own course, a strategic buffer that shaped the destiny of continents. Its rediscovery offers more than just the location of a city. It promises a window into a bold experiment in governance and faith, a world where different paths were not just tolerated but woven into the fabric of an empire. This theme of a city connecting disparate worlds finds a powerful echo far to the south, in the sun-baked sands of the Sahara. While the Khazar capital was erased by conquest, another kind of disappearance was unfolding in the shadow of Mount Vesuvius. The modern Italian town of Nocera Inferiore rests peacefully atop a forgotten Roman metropolis, a complete urban landscape preserved in a state of suspended animation. Ancient Nocera Alphaturna was not a minor outpost but a significant Roman settlement in Campania, a thriving hub that persisted through the medieval era. Its burial was not the result of a single disaster but a slow, patient process of accumulation. Over many centuries, new structures were built directly atop the old ones, layer upon layer, until the original Roman city was completely encased beneath the ground. This created a perfect archaeological time capsule, a phenomenon known as urban stratification. Today, life in Nocera Inferiore continues above streets that echo with 2,000 years of history. The past here is not a distant relic, but a living presence that occasionally breaks through the surface. Modern construction projects, from digging new foundations to laying utility lines, periodically slice through time, revealing stunning glimpses of the world below. Workers have uncovered vibrant, perfectly preserved mosaics, the foundations of grand public buildings, and even the substantial remains of an amphitheater that once echoed with the cheers of spectators watching public games. Each discovery is a careful process, a momentary window into the city's deep past before it is often reburied for its own protection, left for future generations with better technology to explore fully. Nocera stands as a powerful testament to the continuity of human habitation, demonstrating how our modern world is often built directly upon the literal foundations of our predecessors. This quiet, layered burial of a city invites us to consider a different fate, not a city built over, but one that was simply walked away from, left to be reclaimed completely by the earth. The silent burial of a Roman city beneath modern streets gives way to a different kind of preservation, one not of stone and mortar, but of wood and cloth. On the coast of Normandy, the story of Granville unfolds like a gentle maritime elegy. This was no victim of fire or conquest, but a bustling medieval port that fell into a deep, sandy sleep. For centuries, old Granville thrived as a vital hub for trade and fishing, its wharves alive with the shouts of merchants and the scent of salt and tar. Then the landscape itself began to shift, a slow, inexorable march of sand dunes driven by changing coastal winds and sedimentation gradually advanced upon the settlement. There was no single storm or battle, just a patient, smothering embrace that unfolded over generations. The port did not collapse, it was quietly and completely blanketed, its streets and buildings sealed beneath a protective layer of earth. This natural entombment created one of archaeology's most precious gifts, a state of perfect preservation. Excavations have revealed a town frozen in time, with intact timber-framed houses still standing, their wooden beams and joints perfectly preserved. Cobbled streets once trod by fishermen and traders wait silently beneath the dunes. The very port facilities where ships once unloaded their cargo remain in remarkable condition. Because the sand created an oxygen-poor environment, organic materials that normally rot away in a matter of decades have survived for centuries. Pieces of leather from shoes and harnesses, fragments of woolen and linen clothing, and even remnants of ropes and nets have been recovered, offering a tangible, deeply human connection to the people who lived there. Granville provides an unprecedented window into the complete daily life of a medieval maritime community, from the structures they built to the objects they held in their hands. Its story is a powerful reminder that a city can vanish not only through violence or sudden disaster, but through the slow, patient work of the natural world, a gradual transformation of the very land that once supported it. This gentle erasure by sand leads us to consider a far more dramatic and fiery end for a city that was not buried, but burned into memory. The gentle sands that preserved Granville stand in stark contrast to the unforgiving mud that consumed a prosperous Dutch community. Saeftinghe was once a thriving village nestled within the fertile farmlands of the Scheldt estuary, its safety guaranteed by a network of protective dikes. Life here was defined by the rhythm of the tides and the richness of the soil. That all changed in 1584 when a colossal storm surge overwhelmed the defenses. The sea did not just flood the land, it claimed it permanently, transforming a settled human landscape into a vast, watery wilderness. Today, this area is known as the Drowned Land of Saeftinghe, the largest brackish water nature reserve in all of Europe. Yet the story passed down through generations adds a moral dimension to this tragedy. Local legend tells of a warning ignored, of villagers so consumed by their own prosperity and greed that they brought a divine punishment upon themselves. Folklore speaks of a magical bell that once rang from the church tower, its chimes a final, futile warning before the waters swallowed everything. While this tale offers a poetic explanation, historical records point to a more calculated cause. The flooding occurred during the 80 Years' War, a long and brutal conflict, and there is strong evidence that the dikes were deliberately breached as a military tactic, sacrificing the land to gain a strategic advantage against an enemy. The truth likely lies in a combination of natural disaster and human decision, a convergence of a fierce storm and the harsh realities of warfare. Now, the land itself offers its own testimony. During the lowest tides, when the water recedes, the mudflats give up their ghosts. The faint, stony outlines of church foundations emerge, tracing the shape of a community's heart. The ridges that once marked the boundaries between farms become visible, and on rare occasions, the mud reveals more personal, somber finds that remind us of the human cost. These fleeting appearances make the marsh a haunting archive, a place where history physically resurfaces only to be hidden again by the returning sea. Saeftinghe's fate is a profound lesson in how the delicate balance of human settlement can be shattered by both the uncontrollable force of nature and the deliberate strategies of conflict. This intentional destruction for military gain forces us to confront the many cities that were not merely abandoned, but were systematically dismantled by the engines of war. The mud of Saeftinghe, shaped by human conflict, gives way to the sun-baked soil of Armenia, where a different kind of national heart lies sleeping. beneath the quiet, modern village of Nabod rests the sprawling footprint of Dvin, a capital city whose splendor once rivaled the legendary Constantinople. For centuries, this was the brilliant center of Armenian political power, a hub of trade and culture whose influence reached across the medieval world. At its zenith, the city was home to a community of perhaps 100,000 people, a bustling metropolis filled with artisans, scholars, and merchants. Its story, however, is one of resilience tested by repeated hardship. Dvin endured a long series of devastating earthquakes and destructive invasions, each event chipping away at its structural and social foundations. These challenges culminated in the 13th century when the city was finally abandoned, its grand buildings left to crumble and be slowly buried by layers of wind-blown earth. Over time, a new, smaller village took root directly above the forgotten capital, its residents living their lives unaware of the magnificent world beneath their feet. This very act of preservation, the gentle burial by time, has made Dvin an archaeological treasure of immense importance. Ongoing excavations have begun to peel back the layers, revealing a city of astonishing sophistication. Researchers have uncovered the foundations of royal palaces and massive churches that speak to its spiritual and political power. They have found evidence of extensive workshops for metalworking, glassmaking, and pottery, pointing to a diverse and thriving urban economy. Most impressively, the excavations have revealed a complex network of water pipes and drainage systems, demonstrating a remarkable level of urban planning for its time. Each discovery at Dvin provides a crucial piece of evidence for understanding a pivotal era, the complex transition from late antiquity into the medieval period across the entire Caucasus region. The city's long history, marked by layers of construction, destruction, and rebuilding, tells a story not of a single culture, but of a place that continuously adapted and transformed. This capital of many lives invites us to consider a different kind of transformation, one that occurred not on land but entirely on water. The shifting sands that sealed Granville's fate had a more violent counterpart in the North Sea, where an entire island port was born and then erased within a single human lifetime. Ravenser was a town built on borrowed time from its very inception, a bustling, notorious hub that materialized on a newly formed sandbank in the Humber estuary around 1235. It was a true child of the sea, a pirate haven and trading port that grew with astonishing speed. Its merchants became famously wealthy, supplying ships directly to the English king, while also earning a widespread reputation for their aggressive and often legally questionable maritime activities. For roughly 100 years, this audacious settlement thrived, a vibrant community living on the very edge of existence. But the same dynamic coastal forces that had created its foundation were now turning against it. By the mid-14th century, the sandbank that supported the town began to disintegrate under the relentless assault of waves and tides. Historical documents from the era paint a vivid and desperate picture of the town's final years. They record the pleas of its residents as they watched the sea claim their streets, building by building. The church, the heart of the community, was among the last structures to be swallowed, its foundations undermined until it finally collapsed into the churning waters around 1360. Ravenser did not slowly fade away. It was systematically dismantled by the ocean, its entire existence reclaimed by the very element that had given it life. This ephemeral settlement serves as a powerful reminder of the fleeting nature of human ambition when pitted against the raw power of a dynamic environment. Its rapid life cycle, from vibrant boomtown to a memory beneath the waves, prepares us for other cities that burned brightly for only a moment before vanishing from the world. The dramatic life cycle of Ravenser Odd, a city born and erased by the sea, stands in stark contrast to a place that faded slowly from memory, becoming a geographical ghost. Tmutarakan was not a city of sand, but of stone and empire, a crucial Byzantine trading colony perched on the strategic Kerch Strait. This was the gateway where the vast Eurasian steppe met the sophisticated world of the Mediterranean. For centuries, it thrived as a multicultural hub, controlling the vital flow of goods and ideas between the Byzantine Empire and the nomadic peoples of the north. Its importance only grew as power shifted, becoming the center of a mysterious medieval principality that blended Greek, Khazar, and Slavic influences into a unique political entity. Then, in the 12th century, it simply vanished. Not just the people, but the very knowledge of its location was erased from the map, becoming one of the great unsolved puzzles of Russian history. For generations, scholars debated whether Tmutarakan was even a real place or just a legend from old chronicles. The mystery was so profound that its rediscovery in the 19th century was a monumental event. Archaeologists working in the Taman Peninsula began to uncover evidence of a major settlement beneath the modern town, and with each layer of soil removed, a more complex picture emerged. They found the foundations of ancient Hermanasa, the Greek predecessor, and above it, the distinct cultural layers of Khazar fortifications, Slavic dwellings, and Byzantine churches. This was not the story of one civilization replacing another, but of a single, resilient place that continuously absorbed new people and traditions, weaving them into its own enduring identity. The artifacts pulled from the earth told a silent story of a bustling port, where steppe pottery sat beside fine Byzantine glass, and where merchants from wildly different worlds met to trade. The confirmation of Tmutarakan's location did more than just solve an ancient riddle. It restored a crucial chapter to the history of the Black Sea region, proving that the boundaries between cultures were far more porous than we often imagine. This rediscovery of a cosmopolitan crossroads naturally leads us to another city that mastered the art of connection, not on the edge of an empire, but at the very center of a continent. The silence of a city abandoned by choice offers a different kind of testimony than one erased by disaster. High on a volcanic outcrop in central Italy, the stone skeleton of Vittoriano Vecchio stands frozen. This was not a victim of conquest or a sudden cataclysm, but a community that made a collective decision to walk away. Founded in the early Middle Ages as a fortified stronghold, its position was a statement of defensive necessity, a place of safety overlooking the surrounding countryside. For generations, its walls echoed with the sounds of a thriving commune. Then, the challenges of the 14th century arrived. The hardships of that era, a difficult period marked by regional conflicts and widespread illness, gradually made life on the rocky perch unsustainable. The community faced a choice to remain in a place that had become isolating and vulnerable, or to seek a new beginning. They chose the future. In a remarkable act of planned relocation, the inhabitants left their ancestral home and established a new town, simply called Vittoriano, on more accessible ground nearby. They took their lives and their community with them, but they left the physical shell of their old world perfectly intact. This voluntary departure created an archaeological gift of immense value. Without the constant rebuilding and modernization that alters most historic towns, Vittoriano Vecchio was preserved in a state of suspended animation. Its defensive walls still trace the original perimeter, and the stone towers that once guarded the community stand sentinel over empty streets. The foundations of houses, workshops, and public buildings remain clearly visible, allowing researchers to map the entire social and economic structure of a medieval commune. We can see how space was divided between public and private life. how water was managed, and how the community organized itself for both daily living and collective defense. This is not a city of kings or epic legends, but a profoundly human settlement, a time capsule of ordinary medieval life. Its story reminds us that abandonment is not always a sign of failure, but can be a pragmatic strategy for survival, a conscious step toward a new chapter. This theme of a community choosing its own path leads us to consider a city that was not left behind, but was actively hidden from the world. The fate of a community choosing its own future stands in stark contrast to the slow, inexorable surrender of a spiritual capital to the sea. The story of Old Selsey is one of profound and permanent loss, the gradual drowning of a foundational heart of early English Christianity. This was no minor chapel, but the original cathedral city of the Anglo-Saxon Kingdom of Sussex, a place of immense religious and political significance established in the 7th century. For hundreds of years, it thrived as a center of learning and devotion, a royal residence where faith and power were deeply intertwined. Its cathedral was the spiritual anchor for the entire region, a beacon for pilgrims and a seat of ecclesiastical authority. Yet its coastal location, so vital for its connection to the wider world, would ultimately seal its doom. Starting around the 11th century, a relentless process of coastal erosion began to consume the land. The cliffs that supported the city were systematically gnawed away by the tides, a slow-motion disaster that unfolded over 5 centuries. Historical records note the final, symbolic collapse of the cathedral itself into the churning waters around the year 1300, a devastating moment that marked the end of an era. The town persisted for a time, clinging to a shrinking shoreline, but by the 16th century, the last remnants of Old Selsey had slipped beneath the waves. Today, the modern town of Selsey stands further inland, a quiet successor to a sunken metropolis. The original city is not entirely gone, however. On those rare days when the tide pulls back to its absolute lowest, the seabed itself gives up its secrets. The faint, stony outlines of foundations become briefly visible, and occasionally, a storm will churn up artifacts from the silt, tangible proof of the world that was lost. The slow vanishing of Selsey is a powerful testament to how environmental change can erase even the most deeply rooted centers of faith and community, leaving only whispers beneath the water. This spiritual loss invites us to consider other cities whose disappearance meant the fading of an entire way of life. Perched high on a rugged Montenegrin hillside, the skeletal remains of Stari Bar tell a story of layered history and sudden, violent change. This was a city that had adapted for centuries, first under Venetian maritime influence and later as a vibrant center of Ottoman administration. Its strategic location made it a coveted prize, a place where East and West met and mingled, leaving behind a unique architectural tapestry of churches and mosques standing side by side. The city's long history of resilience, however, met a breaking point in 1878. During a fierce siege, a catastrophic event sealed its fate. The city's main gunpowder magazine, a storehouse of explosive material, detonated. The blast was devastating, ripping through the urban core and leaving much of the city in ruins. As if this were not enough, a powerful earthquake soon after shook the region, rendering any large-scale reconstruction effectively impossible. Faced with this compounded disaster, the inhabitants made a collective and pragmatic decision. They chose not to rebuild atop the rubble, but to begin anew, establishing the modern town of Bar on the coast below. This conscious abandonment transformed Stari Bar into an open-air museum, a rare example of a medieval city whose end is precisely recorded in the historical record. Walking through its extensive ruins today, you can trace the outlines of its multicultural past, from the arches of its Ottoman baths to the foundations of its Christian churches. It offers a uniquely clear window into the urban design and daily life of a Balkan crossroads, a city frozen not by slow decay, but by a definitive moment of upheaval. The well-documented demise of Stari Bar provides a crucial bridge to understanding cities whose destruction was not an accident of war, but a deliberate act of imperial policy. The story of a city abandoned by choice gives way to one erased by imperial decree. The vast, fertile plains of eastern Austria hold a secret beneath their soil, the ghost of a capital that once commanded an empire stretching from the Black Sea to the heart of Europe. This was Avaris, the mighty center of the Avar Khaganate, a steppe power whose mounted warriors struck fear into the hearts of kingdoms for over 2 centuries. From their strategic stronghold in the Vienna Basin, a place known historically as the Avar Ring, these nomadic people orchestrated raids that reached the very gates of Constantinople and reshaped the political landscape of an entire continent. Their power was built on speed, strategy, and the ability to extract vast wealth from the settled societies they dominated. But empires built on conquest are often vulnerable to a stronger force. In the late 8th century, the Frankish king Charlemagne launched a series of relentless military campaigns that shattered the Avar state. The capital was overrun, its power broken, and its people scattered. With no written records of their own, the Avars and their great ring fortress faded from history, becoming little more than a name in the chronicles of their enemies. For over 1,000 years, the land returned to agriculture, its deep past sleeping undisturbed. Then, the 20th century brought the archaeologist's trowel. Excavations began to reveal the staggering scale of what lay beneath the fields. Researchers uncovered the remains of immense concentric earthworks, sophisticated fortifications that once defended a bustling, cosmopolitan hub. They found burial mounds filled with artifacts of astonishing artistry, intricate gold and silverwork that spoke of vast trade networks and elite status. The grave goods told a silent story of a society in constant motion, blending steppe traditions with influences from Byzantium, Persia, and the Germanic West. Avaris forces us to reconsider what we mean by a city. This was not a metropolis of stone and marble, but a vast, planned encampment of wood and earth, a mobile culture's idea of a permanent capital. Its discovery rewrote the history of the early Middle Ages, proving that the so-called Dark Ages were illuminated by complex, powerful empires that simply chose not to build in stone. The legacy of the Avar Ring reminds us that a civilization can dominate a continent and then vanish so completely that only the patient earth remembers its name. This theme of a powerful, migratory people leaving a fleeting mark on the land invites us to look for other cities that were never meant to be permanent. The silence of the Avar Ring, a capital built for conquest, finds its echo in the quiet peace of an Irish island devoted to prayer. Scattery Island rises from the Shannon estuary, a place where the wind whispers through stone that once sheltered a different kind of power. This was not a fortress for warriors, but a sanctuary for scholars, a monastic city founded by Saint Senan in the 6th century that grew to become one of Ireland's great centers of spiritual and intellectual life. Imagine a bustling community, not of merchants and soldiers, but of monks, students, and pilgrims, all drawn to this isolated island to pursue learning and faith. At its height, Inais Kataig was a sprawling complex, a spiritual metropolis with multiple churches, a majestic round tower standing as a beacon and a refuge, and living quarters designed to support a vibrant, self-sufficient society. This was an urban-scale settlement organized around a sacred purpose, functioning almost entirely independently from the secular kingdoms of the mainland. Its very existence challenges our modern idea of a city. proving that the most powerful gravitational pull can be spiritual, not economic. For centuries, its scribes copied manuscripts, its teachers instructed pupils, and its community maintained a rhythm of life dedicated to contemplation. But no island is an impregnable fortress, and the same waters that provided isolation also brought danger. Viking longships, drawn by the monastery's growing renown and wealth, began to raid the settlement from the 9th century onward. These violent incursions, combined with gradual shifts in European trade routes that bypassed the Shannon, began a long, slow decline. The flow of pilgrims and scholars dwindled over hundreds of years, and by the 16th century, the island was largely abandoned, its stone buildings left to the elements and its scholarly voices replaced by the cry of gulls. Today, the ruins on Scattery Island are remarkably complete, offering a rare and clear blueprint of an early medieval monastic city. Walking among the remains of its churches and gazing up at the intact round tower, you can trace the outline of a whole society built around an idea. The site provides profound insight into how these spiritual communities were organized, from the division between sacred and residential spaces to the sophisticated infrastructure needed to support a large, non-agricultural population. Scattery Island stands as a powerful testament to a time when a city's influence was measured not in coins, but in the depth of its knowledge and the strength of its faith. This vision of a city built on devotion prepares us for another kind of settlement, one where the spiritual and the strategic were fused into an unbreakable bond. The quiet devotion of a monastic island stands in stark contrast to the raucous energy of a Viking marketplace. On the island of Björka in Sweden, the windswept grasses hide the foundations of Birka, a town that was the commercial engine of the Viking world. Established around 750, this was not a simple village but one of Scandinavia's first true urban centers, a planned hub where commerce was king. For over 200 years, its harbor was a forest of masts, welcoming ships not just from neighboring shores, but from the farthest reaches of the known world. The voices of traders from the Frankish Empire, the distant caliphate in the Middle East, and the Slavic lands to the east would have mingled in its streets, a cacophony of languages and cultures all brought together by the promise of profit. Birka was a cosmopolitan melting pot long before the term existed, protected by a formidable hill fort and governed by a detailed legal code that managed everything from market disputes to the safety of foreign merchants. This was a society built on networks, not just raids. Its lifeblood was the flow of goods, from shimmering Arabian silver and fine Frankish glass traveling north to Nordic furs, amber, and slaves moving south. Then, with a swiftness that still puzzles historians, the heart of this vibrant town stopped beating. By 975, Birka was completely abandoned. The reasons are still debated, a combination of factors that may have included the silting of its vital harbor, shifting political power to newer centers like Sigtuna, or changes in the very trade routes that had given it life. For nearly 1,000 years, it existed only as a name in a few old texts, a legendary place whose reality was doubted. Its rediscovery in the 19th century was a revelation. Archaeologists began to unearth a staggering array of artifacts that painted a new picture of the Viking Age. They found intricate scales and weights used by meticulous merchants, hordes of Islamic coins that testified to trade spanning continents, and finely crafted jewelry blending Norse and Eastern styles. The graves surrounding the town revealed a society of immense wealth and diversity, with individuals buried according to Christian, pagan, and even possible Islamic customs. Birka forced the world to see the Vikings not merely as fearsome warriors, but as savvy, sophisticated entrepreneurs who built commercial bridges across the globe. Its story shows us that a city's true legacy is not always in its permanence, but in the vast cultural and economic networks it helped to weave, connections that would outlast its own walls and wharves. This vision of a global trading crossroads finds a powerful echo in a city that served as a gateway between two faiths and two continents. The cosmopolitan energy of Birka finds its perfect counterpart in the strategic genius of Hedeby. Tucked at the base of the Jutland Peninsula in modern Germany, this was not a town that happened to exist, but one that was deliberately placed at one of the most vital commercial intersections of the Viking world. Here, the overland route connecting the North Sea to the Baltic met a narrow, navigable fjord. This geography made Hedeby a mandatory stop, a place where merchants could avoid the long and perilous sea journey around Denmark's northern tip. From its founding in the 8th century, it was engineered for trade, growing into a bustling, densely packed emporium that hummed with a unique international character. Walking its muddy streets, you would have heard Old Norse spoken alongside Saxon German, and encountered traders from the Frankish Empire bargaining with travelers from the Slavic East. This was a true crossroads where ideas and goods circulated as freely as currency. The city's prosperity was built on a surprisingly sophisticated urban plan. Archaeologists have uncovered a settlement laid out with a clear, organized grid of wooden planked streets, with long, narrow plots of land running perpendicular to the waterfront. Each plot contained a sturdy timber longhouse, serving as both a family home and a workshop or storehouse. The level of preservation here is nothing short of miraculous. Because the ground was perpetually waterlogged, organic materials that would have vanished elsewhere have survived for over 1,000 years. Researchers have recovered intricate wooden tools, delicate fragments of woven textiles, and even the personal combs and jewelry lost by their owners. These are not just artifacts, they are intimate snapshots of daily existence, telling us about fashion, hygiene, and domestic life in a way that stone ruins alone never could. Hedeby's story, however, carries a powerful lesson about the fragility of economic reliance. Its entire reason for being was its geographical advantage as a trading shortcut. In 1066, the same year as the Norman conquest of England, that advantage was violently erased. The settlement was attacked and burned to the ground by a Slavic army, a catastrophic event from which it never recovered. But why was it never rebuilt? The answer lies in a shifting world. By the 11th century, new, deeper drafted trading ships were being developed, and the nearby town of Schleswig, with its superior harbor, was rising to prominence. The specific geographical logic that had created Hedeby was becoming obsolete. Its destruction was simply the final blow to a city whose economic purpose was already fading. The silence that fell over Hedeby's charred remains was a gift to the future. The fact that it was never built over created a perfect time capsule, sealed in wet soil. The exceptional preservation allows us to see a Viking Age trading hub not as a legend, but as a functioning, complex urban center. We can trace the wear patterns on its wooden wharves from countless ships docking and unloading. We can study the waste pits that reveal a diverse diet, showing how this community was connected to far-flung supply networks. Hedeby gives us a complete picture, proving that these were not just raiders but city planners and global merchants. This remarkably clear window into a single, frozen moment prepares us for a city with the opposite fate, one that was not preserved by destruction, but was continuously inhabited, its deepest secrets layered and hidden beneath a living modern world. The same ground that supported Hedeby's wooden wharves now gives way to the stone cellars of a different kind of commercial giant. Beneath the elegant streets of modern Troy lies a sleeping city of commerce, a ghost of the medieval economy. This was Troy's Via, the vibrant merchant quarter that once pulsed at the heart of the legendary Champagne fairs. For 2 centuries, this district was a global marketplace, a place where Flemish wool met Italian silks and Eastern spices under the watchful eyes of international traders. Its multi-story buildings were not just homes but combined spaces for living, trading, and storing immense wealth, with ground-floor shops opening onto bustling streets and upper levels housing the merchants who brokered deals that connected continents. Then the world shifted. New sea routes and changing economic patterns gradually redirected the flow of wealth, and the great fairs faded into memory. The merchant quarter, once so vital, slowly became a backwater. As the Renaissance dawned, a new city began to rise literally on top of the old one. New streets were laid, new buildings constructed, and the entire medieval commercial district was gently, completely buried, forgotten for centuries beneath layers of urban renewal. This act of concealment became an act of perfect preservation. In recent years, urban redevelopment projects have cut through time, revealing a world frozen in the 13th century. Archaeologists have uncovered buildings with their original stone staircases still intact, leading to upper floors that collapsed but left their contents in place. They have found workshops with tools left behind as if the artisan had just stepped away, and warehouses with their internal layouts perfectly clear. The level of detail is stunning, offering a direct window into the daily mechanics of medieval business. We can see how space was allocated for different goods, how light was channeled into work areas, and how these structures were engineered for both commerce and defense. Troyes Via provides a blueprint of capitalism in its infancy, a tangible connection to the merchants who built a global network long before the term globalization existed. It demonstrates with breathtaking clarity that our modern cities are not replacements for the old, but layers upon layers of history, each era resting quietly just beneath the surface, waiting for its story to be told. This idea of a city built directly atop its own past leads us to consider a place where the layers of history tell a story of conflict and coexistence. The silence of a merchant's counting room in Troyes gives way to the quiet of an empty bishop's court in the hills of Liguria. Sarzana Vecchia holds a different kind of secret, the story of a city that was not destroyed but deliberately left behind. Following the slow decline of the Roman port city of Luni, this settlement emerged as the new heart of the region, a crucial episcopal center where a bishop held both spiritual and temporal power. For centuries, this was the administrative capital, a place where religious law and local governance were one and the same. Its churches were not just places of worship but centers of community life, and its administrative buildings managed the affairs of the surrounding countryside. Life here was ordered and significant, a continuation of Roman tradition into the early medieval world. So why would a community choose to walk away from such an established seat of authority? The answer lies in the changing realities of the medieval landscape. Between the 10th and 13th centuries, the threat of conflict and instability made a low-lying, open settlement increasingly vulnerable. The inhabitants made a collective, strategic decision for their own safety, gradually relocating to a far more defensible hilltop nearby, the site where the modern town of Sarzana now stands. This was not a panicked flight but a calculated move toward greater security. Because the old city was abandoned rather than razed, its remains were left in a state of remarkable purity. There was no destructive conquest, no chaotic fire, just a slow, peaceful surrender to the elements. This has given archaeologists an incredibly clean slate to work with. Through careful survey and excavation, they have mapped the entire urban plan of Sarzana Vecchia with stunning clarity. The outlines of its multiple churches speak to its spiritual importance, while the foundations of administrative buildings reveal the mechanics of early medieval rule. The layout of its residential areas shows how different social classes lived in proximity to the centers of power. We can see the very footprint of a functioning early medieval city, from its main thoroughfares to the divisions between public and private space. This pristine archaeological record offers a rare and invaluable window into how power, faith, and daily life were organized in a period often shrouded in historical uncertainty. Zona Vecchia teaches us that a city's end is not always a tragedy. Sometimes it is a pragmatic choice for survival, a decision that preserves the past perfectly for future discovery. This theme of strategic withdrawal leads us to consider other settlements that were abandoned not for safety, but because the very land that sustained them could no longer be trusted. The whispers of a Slavic trading empire once echoed across the Baltic Sea, centered on a fortified island in the Oder River delta. Wollin was not merely a town, it was a colossal emporium whose scale and wealth during the Viking Age could stand shoulder to shoulder with the greatest contemporary cities of Europe. Medieval chroniclers wrote of a bustling metropolis protected by strong wooden ramparts, home to thousands of inhabitants and crowned with multiple pagan temples that reached for the sky. This was a profoundly cosmopolitan place where the languages of Slavic merchants, Scandinavian warriors, and traders from distant lands mingled in its crowded markets. The city thrived as a hub of specialized craftsmanship, with its artisans producing everything from intricate glass beads and fine jewelry to sturdy pottery and textiles, feeding a voracious network of long-distance commerce. For centuries, Wollin pulsed with economic and cultural energy, a testament to the sophisticated urban societies that flourished in Slavic territories. Its prominence, however, was tied to the flow of trade, and when those currents shifted in the 12th century, the city's fortune began to wane. Political conflicts further destabilized the region, and the great trading hub slowly faded. Over time, the memory of its grandeur was buried, both figuratively and literally, as later villages were constructed directly atop its forgotten foundations. For generations, its true scale was doubted, relegated to the pages of historical accounts that seemed almost too grand to be true. Then, the trowels of archaeologists began to peel back the layers. Ongoing excavations have revealed a stunning urban landscape, confirming the chronicler's boasts. Researchers have uncovered the immense defensive earthworks that once encircled the city, the densely packed foundations of hundreds of houses and workshops, and evidence of the specialized industries that powered its economy. The sheer scale of the settlement has forced a dramatic rethinking of early medieval history, challenging long-held narratives that underestimated the complexity and power of Slavic urbanism. Wollin stands as a powerful reminder that entire empires of commerce and culture rose in places modern maps have largely forgotten, their legacy waiting just beneath the soil to rewrite our understanding of the past. This vision of a regional economic titan invites us to consider another city whose wealth was legendary, a place so rich its story was long dismissed as pure fantasy. The same ground that supported Wollin's bustling markets also lies beneath the spiritual heart of England, where a Roman city sleeps in near-perfect condition. Modern Canterbury rests upon the complete blueprint of Durovenum Cantiacorum, a sophisticated Roman provincial capital. Following the conquest, this settlement was meticulously planned, its streets laid out in a precise grid that organized an entire urban world. Within this framework stood grand temples for public worship, extensive bathhouses serving as social centers, and a theater for public entertainment, all surrounded by orderly residential districts. This was not a military camp but a fully realized Roman town, designed to project the empire's power and culture onto the landscape of Britain. As the Roman era faded, a new city began to grow directly on top of the old. Through the Anglo-Saxon period and into the Middle Ages, centuries of accumulated debris and continuous rebuilding gently buried the Roman stonework. The very process of daily life, the collapse of old structures and the raising of new ones, created a protective layer over Durovanium, sealing it like a time capsule. The modern city, with its famous cathedral, was built literally on the foundations of its Roman predecessor. This deep, layered history was dramatically revealed by the tragedies of the Second World War. German bombing raids that damaged sections of the medieval city inadvertently gave archaeologists a unique opportunity. As they surveyed the destruction, they were able to peel back the medieval layers and uncover extensive, stunningly preserved sections of the Roman town beneath. They found long streets with their original paving stones, the complex underground heating systems of the public baths, and the foundations of homes and shops. Each discovery painted a detailed picture of how the city evolved over 4 centuries of Roman rule, adapting to new needs and changing tastes. Durovanium offers perhaps the clearest example of continuous urban life in Europe, a place where one civilization did not simply replace another, but built directly upon its bones. It demonstrates how our most cherished historic cities are often palimpsests, with each era leaving its mark only to be gently covered by the next, creating a deep, collective memory in stone and soil. This remarkable continuity of place leads us to another city that tells a different story, one not of peaceful layering but of a civilization cut short in its prime. The scent of salt and sandalwood once filled the air of a port that rivaled any in its age. On the shores of the Persian Gulf, the city of Suraf thrived as a dazzling gateway between worlds, connecting the bustling markets of the Islamic caliphates with the distant, fabled lands of India and China. Founded in the 9th century, its growth was explosive, fueled by the monsoon winds that filled the sails of its vast merchant fleet. Suraf was synonymous with luxury, a place where pearls from the Gulf, spices from the East, and fine Chinese porcelain changed hands, creating a legend of almost unimaginable wealth. This was not a simple trading post but a sophisticated urban center, a testament to the engineering and organizational genius of its time. Archaeological work has uncovered the bones of this great city, revealing a sprawling complex of grand mosques, ornate palaces, and vast warehouses designed to hold the treasures of continents. Most impressively, researchers have mapped its advanced water management systems, a network of canals and cisterns that sustained life in an arid climate, proving this was a city built to last. Yet its prosperity was built on a fragile foundation. In 977, a powerful earthquake struck, dealing a devastating blow to its infrastructure and shaking the confidence of its merchants. The city never fully recovered its former glory, and its final chapter was written centuries later when Portuguese naval forces, seeking to control the lucrative trade routes, attacked and ultimately broke the city's spirit. By the 16th century, Suraf was silent, its wharves empty and its grand buildings left to the desert winds. While Suraf lies outside Europe, its story is inextricably linked to our own. The silks and spices that passed through its warehouses often found their way to European markets, making this distant port a crucial, if unseen, node in a chain of medieval globalization. Its rediscovery forces us to redraw our mental maps, revealing a world far more interconnected than we often assume, where the fate of a city on the Persian Gulf could ripple through economies thousands of miles away. How many other such global crossroads, whose names we have forgotten, still wait to share their stories? The story of a city's survival is written in the layers beneath its streets. Novgorod-Seversky was the brilliant, defiant heart of a medieval frontier, a princely capital built to withstand the immense pressures of a world in collision. For centuries, this fortress city on the Dvin River marked a crucial boundary where the settled Slavic principalities faced the vast, open Eurasian steppe. Its strategic position gave it control over vital trade routes, but it also placed it directly in the path of powerful nomadic confederations. This was a place constantly balancing prosperity with peril, its wealth attracting the very forces that threatened its existence. The city responded by transforming itself into a formidable stronghold. Behind heavy fortifications, a sophisticated urban center thrived, complete with impressive stone churches that reached for the heavens and robust administrative buildings from which princes governed their domain. Life here was defined by this tension, a vibrant community living under the long shadow of potential conflict. The city's most enduring legacy, however, came from a single, ill-fated venture beyond its protective walls. It was from these gates that Prince Igor Sviatoslavich launched his campaign into the steppe in the 12th century, a military expedition that ended in his defeat and capture. This event might have been a minor footnote in history, but it was immortalized in one of the most important works of Slavic literature, the tale of Igor's campaign. This epic poem transformed a local prince's setback into a powerful national story of hubris, honor, and the fragile nature of unity in the face of a common threat. It ensured that the name Novgorod-Seversky would echo through the centuries, long after its physical glory was concealed. Unlike cities completely erased from the map, Novgorod-Seversky never experienced a final abandonment. Instead, it underwent a quiet, continuous transformation. The modern Ukrainian town was built directly atop its medieval predecessor, a process that gently buried the old capital under layers of new life. This creates a unique archaeological challenge and opportunity. The medieval city is not lost in a distant field, but sleeps directly under the homes and streets of the living community. Its past only resurfaces in fleeting, dramatic moments. During construction projects or archaeological digs, the earth gives up its secrets, revealing the foundations of those ancient stone churches, sections of the formidable defensive walls, and artifacts from the daily lives of the people who called this frontier home. Each discovery is a direct touchpoint to the world of Prince Igor, a reminder that the modern town is merely the latest chapter in a very long story. Novgorod-Seversky stands as a profound example of a city that existed on the edge of worlds, its identity forged in the space between the forest and the steppe, between Slavic tradition and nomadic power. Its layered history reminds us that some of the most important capitals are not those that fell, but those that endured by slowly merging with their own future, their deepest secrets resting just a stone's throw below the surface. The fortress walls of Stary Raz still stand watch over a landscape of profound beginnings. This was the first capital of a rising Serbian state, a place where national identity was forged in stone and faith. From the 8th century onward, this was more than a city. It was the heart of a people, the political and spiritual core around which a medieval kingdom coalesced. At its peak between the 12th and 13th centuries, the city was the brilliant capital of the Serbian Grand Principality, a bustling hub of power protected by formidable fortifications that crowned the hills. Within its defensive embrace, a sophisticated urban center thrived, its skyline punctuated by the domes of churches and the quiet courtyards of monastic complexes. The architecture here spoke a unique language, a graceful fusion of Byzantine grandeur and Romanesque strength, creating a visual identity that was entirely its own. This was a city designed to project the authority and cultural sophistication of a new nation. Its vibrant life, however, could not withstand the seismic political shifts of the 15th century. Following the Ottoman conquest, the city's strategic importance faded. the capital moved, and the once great structures of Stare Ras were slowly, systematically dismantled. Its carefully cut stones were carried away to build new towns and fortresses, leaving the original capital to a quiet, gradual return to the earth. This deliberate abandonment, while a loss in its time, became a gift to the future. Without later construction to disturb it, the city's original urban plan was preserved in the soil with remarkable clarity. Extensive archaeological work has since mapped its streets and neighborhoods, revealing a sophisticated layout that integrated defensive needs with spiritual life and daily commerce. We can see how the city was engineered, with its citadel, its lower town, and its religious centers all forming a cohesive and strategic whole. The site offers a pristine blueprint of a foundational European capital, frozen at the moment of its greatest influence. Stare Ras represents a different kind of vanishing, one not of disaster, but of deliberate obsolescence. It shows us how a national heart can be relocated, its original vessel left behind as a silent witness to the relentless flow of history. Its enduring stones standing against the Serbian sky bring our journey through 25 lost cities to a powerful close, a final reminder that the ground beneath modern Europe is a vast and layered archive, holding the complete stories of worlds we are only just beginning to remember. These silent cities beneath our feet are no longer hidden from our view. The search for lost worlds has been completely transformed by technologies that allow us to see through soil, water, and stone. Ground-penetrating radar, for instance, works like an X-ray for the Earth, sending pulses of energy deep into the ground and reading the echoes that bounce back from buried walls, roads, and foundations. This creates a detailed map of what lies below, all without a single shovel breaking the ground. From the air, LiDAR technology performs an even greater magic trick. It uses laser pulses to strip away the visual clutter of modern forests and fields, digitally peeling back the vegetation to reveal the ghostly imprints of ancient roads, earthworks, and property boundaries that are completely invisible from the ground. Another method, electrical resistivity tomography, measures how easily electrical currents pass through the soil. Stone foundations and walls resist the current, while filled in ditches and pits conduct it more easily, painting a clear picture of subsurface features. These are not just tools for finding cities, they are tools for understanding them. They let archaeologists map entire street grids and trace the outlines of neighborhoods, revealing the complete urban plan of a place like Trellech or Wallen without disturbing the very history they seek to preserve. This principle of non-invasive investigation extends beneath the waves as well. The same sonar that mapped the drowned streets of Dunwich has been refined into incredibly sophisticated systems. Multi-beam and side-scan sonar now create photorealistic, three-dimensional models of the seabed, capturing every detail of a sunken port or a lost settlement like Rungholt in stunning clarity. For sites too deep or dangerous for divers, remotely operated vehicles become our eyes and hands, equipped with high-definition cameras and manipulator arms to carefully document and recover small artifacts from the silty depths. But the technological revolution goes even deeper, to a microscopic level. Scientists can now analyze the chemistry of soil samples, looking for concentrated traces of phosphates and other elements that are the chemical ghosts of ancient human activity. These chemical signatures can pinpoint the locations of long-vanished livestock pens, food preparation areas, and even specific workshops, telling us not just where people lived, but how they used their space. Perhaps the most astonishing advance is the ability to extract ancient DNA directly from sediments. From a single core of soil, researchers can identify the genetic traces of the animals and plants that lived alongside a community, reconstructing the entire ecosystem of a lost city from a handful of dirt. What does this all mean for the future of discovery? It means that the 25 cities we have explored are likely just the beginning. The modern landscape of Europe is a vast, unread page, and we have only just learned how to see the writing. Every new field scanned, every new forest surveyed from the air, holds the potential to reveal another forgotten capital, another sunken port, another chapter in our collective story waiting just beneath the surface. Our journey through these 25 silent cities reveals a profound truth about the rhythm of human civilization. From the sunken ports of Dunwich and Rungholt to the buried industrial might of Trellech, we have seen how societies build magnificent urban centers, flourish for a time, and then vanish, leaving behind only whispers in the earth. These hidden worlds consistently demonstrate the delicate balance between human ambition and the immense forces of environmental change, regional conflict, and economic transformation. A bustling port can be erased by a single storm, a mighty capital can fade when trade routes shift, and a thriving industrial town can be reclaimed by quiet fields. Each discovery, whether through a farmer's plow or a scientist's radar, forces us to rewrite our understanding of the past. Medieval Europe was not a dark or isolated place, but a surprisingly interconnected and dynamic landscape, filled with sophisticated urban centers whose technological and cultural achievements we are only now beginning to appreciate. The modern ground we walk on is not a blank slate, but a deep, layered archive. Each new civilization has, quite literally, built upon the foundations and the ruins of those that came before, creating a complex tapestry of human experience hidden just beneath the surface. As our non-invasive technologies grow ever more powerful, from LiDAR that strips away forests to soil chemistry that reads ancient activity, we can be certain that many more of these forgotten chapters will come to light. The exploration of these lost worlds is far from over. It continues to reshape our comprehension of history, reminding us that our own cities are but the latest layer in a story that is still being unearthed, a long narrative of resilience, innovation, and the enduring human impulse to build communities that, even in their silence, have so much left to